Hi, friends. Welcome to Direct Impact Broadcasting. The network of growth and transformation presents SOS for Leaders, where your host, Tywauna Wilson, will be sharing leadership and personal growth strategies. Let's jump right in.
Welcome to another episode of SOS for Leaders. I am your host, Tywauna Wilson. If this is your first time tuning in to the show, welcome. I'm so glad you landed on this podcast. I hope you leave with practical tips that you can use in both your personal and professional life. If you could do me a favor and share this podcast out with one of your friends or colleagues would be awesome so that they too can get these practical tips. In today's podcast, this is our second part of our series on being a great leader. If you tuned into our last episode, then you heard the 5 characteristics that distinguish a great leader. In this episode, we will dive deeper into the concept of being a great leader, talking about values that develop the mental strength of leaders. Because as we know, to be a leader, you have to be mentally strong. You have to have that strength. We act and react according to what we feel is important to us. Our filters of values and beliefs, and we'll talk about beliefs in our next episode, dictate our behaviors and our choices. So what we value at our core will dictate our choices. The value system is built over time under the influence of our environment, our experiences, and our decision making. That's why no two leaders are the same. We all see the world differently based off of our background, based off of how we were brought up, our family, what we've been exposed to. And what's striking about leaders is to see how we'll be able to develop that mental strength. I'll talk about 7 core values today that are often found in leaders and those leaders that are top athletes. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump right in and let's start the discussion about these values. So value number 1 is that you got to have passion. It's easier to be a good leader when you love what you do. And quite frankly, it's easier to be successful if you love what you do. You got to have that passion. Passion is going to be that fuel to keep you going. When work rhymes with passion, you can give the best of yourself. Enthusiasm is very contagious, and you will soon notice that people around you are also passionate about the work. So if you are a leader and you are not passionate about the work, what you will find is that your team will not be passionate either. It's one of those things, if you've ever worked for a manager and they were always happy, they were enthusiastic, it was something about them that made you happy, that made you enthusiastic about what you were doing to keep pushing, to get the work done, even when it seems like you're just climbing all uphill and things aren't working according to plan. So you got to have passion. That's part of having that mental strength of a leader. Discipline is another value. It's cold and slow motivation with no sparkle, as they say. It complements passion. When this one gets a little bit dull, it brings constancy and rigor to the passion. So you got to be disciplined about having the mental strength of a leader. That discipline is important. Discipline will keep us going forward. The passion will get us excited about it, but that discipline is what keeps us moving forward to get the job done. So whether that is you are in school and you're working towards your degree, then it's that discipline that's going to make sure you write the papers that you need to write. You read the books that you need to write, that you study when you need to study. So discipline is a key value of the mental strength of leaders. Will is another value. Quite frankly, having that will is very important. And when you think about will, it's the ability to define and determine precisely what you want and then to be able to focus on it. To be a good leader, you need to be able to avoid the distractions. And as we all know, there are tons of distractions out there. at all costs so that you can stay focused on the goal. Leaders avoid losing that energy and time on things that are not aligned with what you want to achieve. And so having that will, if you know that you want to get promoted in your career, having that will to be able to do what it takes to get promoted is going to be crucial for you in your journey. Being able to eliminate the distractions. One of the big distractions, especially in the workplace, is email. Email is a distraction to get your job done because you can get bogged down in email and then look around and see that you have not been productive for the day or got some of the tasks that you wanted to get done because you've been focused on the email. So having that will to want to succeed, you got to want it for yourself. Nobody can want something more than you. The fourth value is respect. It's fundamental in leadership to respect others, but also you got to respect yourself. It's about recognizing others from whom they truly are, showing that you care. Respect is crucial in life, not just in leadership, and not just in the workplace, but in life. In order to get respect, you got to give respect. And so you have to show people that you care about them. As John Maxwell say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so having that respect will go a long way. People will do things for you that you didn't think they would do because they respect you. And so that is important for the strength of a leader. Humility is another value. Achieving a result is sometimes a small matter. Sometimes wanting to achieve perfection is naive. Now, we know about wanting to achieve perfection here. As a leader, it is better to accept the imperfections that you have, because you can't be great at everything. You're good at some things. You're okay at other things. You're an all-star at some things. And some things you just, quite frankly, are not good at all. And that's okay. It is compatible with your ambition. So the difference between purpose and pretension is precisely humility. So having that humility, that is very important as a leader, and having that mental strength to be a strong leader is being humble. The sixth value would be self-control. Our images dictate our behavior and outcome of our values and beliefs. The only thing we can control is how we're going to react to events. Very, very important. When emotions get high, take a step back, take a deep breath before you react. Real mental strength consists of staying calm, serene, and confident after a mistake or defeat or during a frustrating moment. How you react in a situation will determine and can determine your leadership ability. Being able to stay calm under pressure. If there's a big fire that's happening in the workplace, there's an emergency that happened, your ability to keep calm will be all the difference for your team. A lot of times your team don't start to get worked up or get overwhelmed or get nervous until they see the leader's reaction. And if the leader's reaction is all over the place, then the team is going to respond in exactly that same way. It's the same if you're a parent. If you are a parent and your first thing to do if something isn't done right is to get angry or upset, then your kids notice that. And that's something that they respond to, is how you responded to the situation. So that changes, where they have done something incorrectly or done something that was not pleasing to you. That has changed it from a learning moment to now they are looking at how you respond, and they say, well, every time something isn't done right, that means I should get angry. And so how you respond, that self-control, that self-awareness of environments. And, when stuff is frustrating, how do you respond? Or if you play on a sports team and if your team loses, are you a sore loser? Nobody wants to work with a sore loser or be around a sore loser. It's okay to be a little upset if you didn't do your best, but to be a sore loser is not the mental strength of a leader. And so having that self-control about how you react in situations. And the last value that we will talk about is intelligence. Not only is knowledge of a field essential as a leader, but emotional intelligence is what makes you a great leader. A leader with high emotional intelligence will be more likely to engage and enable his team to perform. Emotional intelligence is critical. So, and it's not something you just wake up and have. You have to work to strengthen your emotional intelligence. You have to study and practice it so that you're able to be better. And you also have to work on limiting those limiting beliefs, which we'll talk about in our next episode of this series. But that intelligence is important. That emotional intelligence is important for the strength of a leader. So those are our values that develop mental strength of leaders. So we talked about having passion and discipline and will and respect and humility and self-control. And last but not least, intelligence. So I want you to think about your core values and see how they line up with these 7 values of that top leaders and athletes. Are they similar? Are there areas in which you really are strong in and have a strong affinity for? Or are there areas in which you say, well, my emotional intelligence, I probably need to work on that? So your call to action or take home from this podcast is to evaluate your values to develop your strength as a leader. So take out your journal or your notebook and write down those 7 values for you that stands at the core of your leadership. And I'll check in with you next week. So thank you for tuning in and checking out this episode of SOS for Leaders with your host, Tywauna Wilson. If you like what you heard today, want to listen to previous shows, please make sure you subscribe at directimpactbroadcasting.com or your favorite podcast platform. Please share out this podcast to your friends and family, anybody that could benefit from having this quick practical tips podcast in their life. Remember, send me an email if there are things that you want to hear. You can actually do that on the Direct Impact Broadcast, and you can comment on this episode. And please tune in next week to hear another amazing topic.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of SOS for Leaders, where Tywauna shared nuggets of wisdom that you can use to win in life. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and connect on LinkedIn. And remember, the secrets of success in your life resides inside of you. When you know what your strengths are, you can utilize them to live an impactful and influential life.